Running a business comes with a lot of what ifs, but luckily there's a simple answer to them. Shopify. It's the commerce platform behind millions of businesses, including Thrive Cosmetics and Momofuku, and it'll help you with everything you need. From website design and marketing to boosting sales and expanding operations, Shopify can get the job done and make your dream a reality. Turn those what ifs into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
Hi, it's Eva Longoria, and let's be real. After 40, we should ask for more from our skincare. I swear by Revitalift Triple Power Moisturizer by L'Oreal Paris. With vitamin C, pro-retinol, and hyaluronic acid, it reduces my wrinkles, firms, and brightens. And it's not a procedure. It's just a hardworking moisturizer.
Revitalift Triple Power Moisturizer by L'Oreal Paris. Grab it today in fragrance-free or with SPF 30. Available at your local Target.
As moms, we often wonder, am I doing enough for my kids? I'm here to tell you, you are Super Mama. That's because we have an undeniable superpower, our intuition, and it never steers us wrong. I call it our mom sense. Hi, I'm Kanika Chedda Gupta, and I'm the host of That's Total Mom Sense. I'm a journalist, entrepreneur, wife, and mom of 3, twins plus 1. Now, if I had $1 every time I heard, gee, you have your hands full. On my podcast, I interview influential moms from various industries and cover topics that all first-time parents grapple with, from getting your baby to sleep to screen time allowance, your new normal in your marriage, and how to dedicate time to yourself. Learn and laugh along with That's Total Mom Sense. Parents are in a state of frenzy as we navigate back to school season this year. Gone are the days of buying binders and decorations for our kids' lockers and cubbies. Now we're ensuring our Wi-Fi is up to the mark and are having our kids become acclimated with Zoom, Google Meet, and Google Classroom. My, oh my, our world has changed. So today, I am so honored to have Alice Benedict on the show with me because she's going to help answer all the questions we have around back to school and how we can come to the best decision for our families. Alice is a retired paralegal and president of the Board of Education in the Botavia City School District in upstate New York. And she was elected this year in July of 2020 and has been in office a few months before that in May of 2020. The school district has approximately 2,200 students. She's also a mother of 3, and they're all adults now. And she's just extremely knowledgeable as a mother and a principal and now president of the BOE on what it means to be a parent and on the other side of things when it comes to our children's education. So Alice, thank you for being on That's Total Mom Sense today.
You're very welcome. I'm glad to be here.
Yes. We have so many questions for you. We're brimming with them.
Okay.
And how are you and your family, coping?
I think that my family and my extended family are coping fairly well. We all do mask constantly if we go out of our homes, and we are certainly social distancing. My husband and I were fortunate enough to be doing daycare for our 2 granddaughters twice a week, and that hasn't stopped because we started the pandemic with them with us, and of course involved with their parents. That's kept on through the whole thing. So I have to say my days are pretty much the same, just that we can't go out to restaurants, and we just don't go out to restaurants or anything like that. So I think because I don't have students in school and I don't have that kind of contact with students in school, I don't know what students are thinking if they're actually afraid of going to school. I know their parents are very apprehensive, but I think students look more to the social concept of school than, actually worrying about catching them.
No, yeah, that's very true. You were elected when the pandemic had already started. It was just, you were assuming this role and, had to come in and kind of manage a damage control situation we were in, especially when it was so precarious because we didn't know what school openings were going to look like in New York. And every week it was changing, right?
Yes, we were consistently waiting for the governor to give us some guidance as to how we could approach and prepare for the opening of school. So I don't want to indicate that we blamed him for the lack of information. It just came out. We would have liked it sooner rather than later. And so the district staff, the superintendent, and all the administrators and teachers have really been scrambling because they want to do what's best for the students, yet what's safe for them and safe for the students too. So there's been a lot of hard work done in our district through the summer. In the same vein, they did a virtual summer school for some at-risk students, and they did that on top of planning for the opening of school. So I think that they've been very organized and working very hard.
Yes. Yeah. Tell us about your perspective, why you even, agreed to take on this role at this time.
Well, I'll tell you, interestingly enough, I knew that there was a board member that had resigned, and I had written to the board president, this was back in April, that if they were thinking of replacing that board member, they had an option. They could have waited until the end of his actual term, which would be next year, to fill the seat. And I'd been on the board before, so I decided that I would write to the president and say, look, if you're looking to replace, I'm interested in getting back on the Board of Education. I'll gladly take this 1-year appointment. So that was what was going to happen. And then the president of the board said, no, we've decided we're going to add your seat to an election. So there were 2 other board members and this third position that were going to have to be elected in June. It was postponed. Normally the elections are in May. And so my name was on the ballot, and I got elected to a 3-year term, and with 2 other women that were previously on the board. So I was happily on the board for 3 years instead of a 1-year commitment. And then on top of that, the president of the board at the time, knowing that reorganization was coming in July, decided to retire. And that left the 5 members on the board who had no experience as president of the board to actually run the Board of Education. And I hate to say it's by default, but they all looked at me at the reorganizational meeting and said, well, you've been the president before. And I said, yes, a long time ago. And they said, but how would you feel about doing that? And I looked at them and I said, well, I can see that we're in a bind here. Of course, I'll step up and, be the president, and we'll see how it goes. And everybody asks me, why did you get on the board at this time? That kind of thing. And it was just sort of like, well, I didn't really think about the pandemic, and I really didn't think about being the president. I just take it as it comes. I've already done 6 hours of training that's required by New York State new school board members, learning about how to be a board member, and then 3 hours of financial, which is always an interesting 3 hours. I'm really not the one that's doing the work. It's the administrators, and it's the teachers, and it's the staff that supports the teachers that are doing the work. They're doing the planning. They're the ones that are teaching the education. And while our job as a board is just to manage the superintendent. So if he's doing a good job, which he's doing a great job right now, I just take each day as it comes.
Yes. Wow. That's great. Let's kind of dive into what your district has decided to do this year.
Okay. Our district has decided to open what is a hybrid with some in-class teaching of students and some virtual. Now, each of the parents of students in the district had the option. We sent out a survey to see what they were most interested in, and then a second registration so that we could definitely get numbers. And we had an overwhelming 75% of our parents wanting their children to be in school. And about 20% wanted to be in the hybrid situation. You could choose what your child was. We just needed to know what you decided, what the parent decided. So we have a hybrid situation in which 2 days a week, certain letters from A through K go on Mondays and Wednesdays, and the rest of the alphabet, L through Z, go on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then on Friday, it's a totally virtual day for all students. And on the days that a student would have off, they're also being taught virtually. Now, I believe from what the superintendent has informed us is that any changes that come along, let's say you're a parent that has done virtual with your student, and which is mainly, I would say, middle school and high schoolers have opted for that. You can change your mind and have your child come to the hybrid situation, but they'll be doing that reevaluation every 10 weeks. It won't be an automatic. I can't call on Wednesday and say, I want my child to do hybrid next week. It won't happen. That's just because of, making sure that there's room in the classroom, because we all have to be 6 feet apart, and all of those recommendations are all those requirements.
Yeah, no, that's great. And this is for all grades from kindergarten on up?
Yes.
Okay.
The only group that will be doing 5 days a week is the special ed kids, and the ESL learners will be doing 5 days a week. They're the ones that, with special ed, they need, structure, and they will also be doing their classes unmasked, because some of the special ed kids have tactile issues. So we have dedicated teachers that are teaching those specific classes, and they won't be involved with any other groups. They'll only teach special ed and ESL. I give kudos to them, though, because they're going to be in the rooms with unmasked children. All the other teachers, they'll mask until they sit, and then they can take their masks off, and the teachers will be masked all the time.
Exactly. No. And schools, often have plans for unexpected crises that occur, whether it's sadly, but gun violence, natural disasters, fires, but no one knew that we'd be hit by a pandemic. So tell us about the contracts involved with your school employees and the students, because...
Well, to tell you the truth, it was my understanding that if the governor had specific requirements and said things that, he was going to tell everybody virtual school and whatever, it would have caused a lot of issues. And I was very happy when he came out with the idea that would depend on each school district, in which there are, well over 700 in the schools. When it comes to the teachers' contracts, of course, they don't have a pandemic clause. It's just not one of those things that anybody ever expected.
No one could have expected. Yeah.
And I know that most teachers that are happy to accommodate the school with the requirement of helping clean, taking temperatures, doing all of that, just because they know it's not forever. And they know that, this will come to an end. And so there was nothing discussed about, changing a contract. Now, if a teacher was uncomfortable with that particular thing that they were required to do, then the superintendent tried to accommodate them and say, okay, let's see if we can work this out. So as far as I know, I haven't heard anything from complaints from the teachers at all about those kinds of requirements. And so I think that they're honestly looking to what's best for the student and what's best for them, and that they can do this at least right now.
Exactly.
So kudos to the teachers that, will step up.
So if you can kind of explain further, how are the teachers being protected and the students as well?
As per the requirements of actually opening the schools, there are requirements for cleaning and access while they're keeping all of their children in their room, and the specials will be coming to their rooms. So that protects the children, and it protects the teachers too, that they're just going to be in those rooms. They'll all be masked. I know some of the teachers, like I said before, have requested plastic in addition to protection. And then there will be cleanings in between. Custodial will be, I know that we've added another day custodian just for the idea that something may need to be cleaned on the spot. We have numerous doors in which the students will be coming in instead of all piling in one door. And temperatures will be taken at that point and recorded. And there will be social distancing in the classrooms. I think that we've come to a place in which we've achieved all of the requirements.
Right.
That we can be as safe as we possibly can.
Yes. Yeah. And what about, taking everyone's temperature? Is that something that's like a bottleneck? Is it happening? Is it not happening? I mean,
Well, we haven't opened school yet, but that is part of the training that will be done next week in our school district. They're doing in-house training to get someone, whoever it is, whether it's an aide or a teacher, that will be doing the temperature. Because I don't think we only have one school nurse, and I don't think she can be at every entrance
Yes.
every morning. So
Right.
there's a kind that will be taking temperatures. And if the temperature is not within the threshold of being able to go to school, that child will be isolated and, further looked at. It doesn't necessarily mean they have COVID just because they have a raised temperature. I mean, kids come to school all the time with temperatures, and it doesn't have anything to do with COVID. That child will be isolated, be evaluated, and then a determination will be made as to whether they can stay in school or whether a parent has to come and get them. And then it will depend on what actually is diagnosed. If the child, is carrying the COVID, then that cohort of children and students and teacher will be quarantined.
We all love a legendary comeback, and Degree Original Cool Rush is back and better than ever. Cool Rush isn't just a scent, it's a movement, a fan favorite that delivers bold, fresh vibes and all-day sweat protection. Whether you have a man that spends hours in the gym, heads into the office early, or is just trying to stay fresh on a long day, Cool Rush has their back. Head to your local Walmart or Target and grab Degree Cool Rush, the fan favorite scent from the world's #1 antiperspirant brand.
I turned off news altogether.
I hate to say it, but I don't trust much of anything.
It's the rage bait.
It feels like it's trying to divide people.
If we got clear facts, maybe we can calm down a little.
NBC News brings you clear reporting. Let's meet at the facts. Let's move forward from there. NBC News, reporting for America.
Right, exactly. If there's a case detected, then, school's out of session for 2 weeks. Is that right?
I would assume, I'm making the assumption that if it's one child or one teacher, that cohort of a group would be out for 2 weeks. I'm sure that there's a threshold that if there's more than, I couldn't say, let's say 5, then the school might be closed down again for 2 weeks. And so then everything would go virtual again with the requirements that the teachers are in their own separate classrooms working 6 hours a day, just like regular school, but everybody would be virtual.
Exactly. Okay. Now, when you have the hybrid, can you break that down for us?
Mondays and Wednesdays, students with names A through K go to school, and Tuesdays and Thursdays and Fridays are virtual. Then just the opposite for the students that are names L through Z. So the teachers have a requirement, they'll be in school every day, including the virtual day. So unfortunately, some community members say, well, we should reduce our teachers' pay because they're not going to be in school teaching kids. Well, they may not have a live student body, but they are virtually teaching. It's still teaching. They're just going to be on a computer at the time.
So what does virtual entail? Is it Zoom or Google Classroom that you're using?
I believe it's Google Classroom. And then there's a special program that we just signed into for younger kindergarten and probably first grade. I think it's called Seesaw, and they found a lot of lesson plans and things, how to keep the child engaged. And every age group, especially in UPK, kindergarten, first and second in our primary school, time limits as to how long you can actually sit in front of your computer and have a child, a young student, actually pay attention. So they won't be teaching a 20-minute class like the high school teachers would be doing, or a half an hour class. It'll be as per, grade level as to how much time. I do also know that our district has developed a tech line for all the parents who are not computer savvy and have trouble. All of our students have Chromebooks. If the parent or the person that's helping the child with homework or logging in for their class and whatever has technical difficulties, there are 2 people at the school that they can call or text or whatever and get information on, what am I doing wrong or whatever. And if it's the problem with the Chromebook, then they can quickly bring it back in, trade it out.
let's talk about the mental health behind this and what kids and teachers are feeling around this new societal norm we have to adapt to.
Well, to tell you the truth, I tuned into a conversation that was put on by SUNY Geneseo, which is State of New York College at Geneseo. They had a little interview session with two school psychiatrists, and they talked all about this, COVID and your student. How am I going to get my child to wear a mask? And they gave some ideas that, well, you should have started probably a couple weeks ago, at least a few times during the day, have your child be masked at home while they're watching television or they're on their computer, just so that they get used to it, because that's going to be one of the things that is, going to be hardest, especially for the younger kids that have to wear masks. They talked a lot about the introverted student is very happy at this moment that we're in a pandemic because they don't have to be with other kids, and whatever. But that doesn't do them any good,
Right.
being able to be at home all the time. And so I think that there's a lot of apprehension on not only the parents with the safety issue and the health issue, but the students with the whole idea. We've been out of school for 6 months now. I haven't been with my friends. What is going to happen? I think there's a lot of anxiety. And so these two psychiatrists said, you just need to talk to your children and, explain the reality of it, that you're upset that there's this coronavirus out there and you're going to do everything you can to protect them and, just limit them to the news. I think it really has to do with the individual family and the individual student as to how they're going to be able to cope after all this time, getting back to school. Well, I do know also through our curriculum coordinator in one of the presentations she made to our board a couple weeks ago in a previous meeting, that one of the goals that she has for the teachers is a connection goal. They connect with every child that they're responsible for in their classes, however number that is, that they're actually engaging with that child on a very regular basis. It not in just an educational way, but in a personal way. And we have had numerous teachers through the last 6 months who know their students very well and have safely gone to their homes and connected with them and said, look, I know this is tough and, everybody has got some issues with it, but I just wanted to let you know that I'm here. If you need, and if you have anything, you can email me, you can contact me. I'll be happy to make that connection with you. And they're continuing that as part of their goals for this next school year, an actual person-to-person connection with each of their students, which will be different for some teachers. Some teachers aren't used to that. It's not that they were wrong. It's just wasn't a part of their day. And now it's an actual goal for our district.
Exactly.
So I can only say that that's a great goal to have.
Yes, absolutely. Do you have any advice for, the parents or students?
I think that most parents have to understand that there has to be a trust factor between you and your school district. We have a tendency to look at our school district as, we don't like, why did they put this baseball game at this time? Or why does my child have so much homework? Or, all of those, what I would call normal everyday things that occur in a student's year. Now that we're going through the pandemic, those things are still important, but they're not. The parents need to trust that the school district is trying to do what's best for their children, their students, and what's best for the teachers and staff that are trying to help and trying to educate their students, and not take the idea that my district doesn't care, they don't have this. I am sure that there are numerous districts that are very cognizant of the fact that there is a safety issue this year, but that we need to get our students back to school.
Yeah. No, I understand where you're coming from on that. Tell us about a mom sense moment that you had.
I will tell you, I had my one son when Emily was a little girl. She was going to nursery school. And I, of course, took her to nursery school. And I was in the YMCA. That's where our nursery school was. And I was walking down the hall after picking her up. And along comes my second son, who would have been in second grade, I think, at the time, walking in the hallway at the YMCA, which is probably 6 or 8 blocks,
Oh my
blocks
goodness.
from school, all by himself.
Okay.
And I looked at him and I said to him, Tom, is your school coming here for a field trip today? I didn't know anything about it. And he looked at me and he said, no, Mom. I just wasn't feeling well, and I knew you were at nursery school with Emily, so I just walked home. And you weren't there, of course, and so I knew that you would be here, so I walked here. And I just looked at him and I said, oh, okay. And I didn't want him to be panicked because he had made his way to the YMCA.
Right.
We went home, and I called the principal of the grade school, and I said, do you know where my son Tom Benedict is? And he said, well, let me check with the teacher. And the teacher said, well, he's down in the nurse's office. And they went looking in the nurse's office, and Tom wasn't there. No, because he's standing right next to me. And I said, well, and the principal of the school at the time was just flabbergasted. Let me investigate this and let me see what I can do. Well, it ended up that there was a mix-up. Tom was supposed to go to the nurse's office. He said the door was closed. He didn't want to bother anybody, and he decided to walk home.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
So, and I didn't panic or anything, but it honestly ended up that he wasn't sick because he had told his teacher he wasn't feeling well. It was just that the teacher the day before had moved his desk away from his buddies, and he didn't want to sit where she put him. So he said he was ill and that he needed to go home, but he decided to walk off campus.
Exactly. Oh my goodness.
So I knew that my mom's sense was there has to be something more to this.
Yes, exactly.
So it was, I took him back to school the next day, and he started to hyperventilate in the hallway. And I looked at him and I said, I thought it was your desk and your teacher's going to move you back. And he said, yes, but she moved me next to a girl.
Aww.
And I laughed and I said, well, Tom, we can certainly, get that. And the teacher came out and said, Tom, oh my goodness, Tom, I'm so sorry. I moved you away from your buddies and then I put you next to a girl. We'll just put your desk back.
Right.
So, but my mom's sense was, I knew there was something going on, with him. So, that was I didn't panic. Yes. I didn't, I certainly didn't accuse the school of being negligent or anything like that. Mm-hmm. They did, after that, come up with a plan as to sending a child to the nurse's office, that it had to be escorted so that the child would actually get to the nurse's office instead of walk off campus.
Right,
so
exactly.
That was my mom's sense. And I know a lot of parents don't understand that the schools are really trying to be responsible for children, and they deeply care about the students. And so I would say, just don't panic. Find out what the story is.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Oh, well, that's great advice, Alice. Well, tell me how our viewers can follow you and support you.
Well, I have an email address that I sent to you. And I, other than that, I'm not on Facebook or any of that kind of stuff. So they could easily just email me if they had a question. I would be glad to answer any questions that they have.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you. I'm so glad to have had this discussion with you. And I think we cleared up a lot of misconceptions and provided a lot of answers through our discussion for parents, teachers, and students alike. So thank you.
I'm glad. You're very welcome.
COVID-19 is still very much with us right now, and we have to navigate these times as best we can. Back to school is not what it used to be, but that's what was the impetus for me to have these interviews and this back to school series, because I want to help parents navigate this uncertain time and figure out the best solution for their families. Whatever you decide, just trust your mom's sense and your dad's sense, because only you know what's best for your family. If there are any other burning questions that you have around this topic, write to me at thatstotalmomsense@gmail.com or follow me on my Instagram. My handle is at Kanika Chadda Gupta. And my show handle is at That's Total Mom Sense. And send me a DM. I read all my messages and write back in a timely manner. And I want to make sure that I get you the answers that you're seeking, because I do bring experts like those in the school system on my show. Thanks for listening, guys. And as always, trust your mom sense and dad sense. Stay strong, super moms and super dads. Bye.
That's total mom sense.